Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today, at the request of Jeremy T, we are going to be playing a Red Prison / Moon Stompy deck list, whatever you want to call it. Jeremy is thinking about getting into Legacy and is thinking about Death and Taxes and Moon Stompy, and seeing as I played Death and Taxes recently, now it's time to see the other one. Okay, so let's briefly talk about the build that I am going to be playing. Moon Stompy is more or less probably about the second or third best deck in Legacy right now, to the surprise of many people, including myself. It turns out that if every card you play just has a huge impact on the game, and you're just ramming them out one after the other, that it's really hard for a deck like Delver to keep up. So let's kind of talk about this deck in a couple of pieces. First, let's start with the lock pieces here. Traditionally, when people think these Moon Stompy Red Prison deck lists, you're thinking Blood Moons, Trinispheres, and Chalice of the Void as kind of the big three. But this deck is also running Magus of the Moon, as well as Unlicensed Hearse. So what's going on with this card in the main deck? Well, as it turns out right now, Delver is the best deck in the format. Ah, surprise Pikachu face. And so fighting against Dragon Rage Channelers and Murktide Regents is super important. It used to be that a lot of these Red Prison deck lists could Planeswalker up and hide behind Ensnaring Bridges and be relatively safe. But Brazen Borrowers and other options and Murktide Regent have made it so that, like, if you're hiding behind if you're hiding behind an Ensnaring Bridge, it's just, oop, Brazen Borrower, one Murktide Regent hit, and you've died. And, like, that's the game, and I don't want to be building around that house of cards if I don't have to. So that's what's going on with Unlicensed Hearse as a main deck hate card. Now, why are we so low to the ground with almost all of these cards costing 2 colorless and 1 red? The game plan is kind of like disrupt and kill, or sometimes just kill and kill, curving multiple Rabble Masters together or Rabble Masters and War Bosses together. But Fury has made it so that you can better support some of these early cards. The idea is, like, you lay a lock piece, you lay a threat, you lay another threat, you Fury, wipe the board of the creatures that your opponent has played, and you just end the game before they get to start digging for their high impact removal spells, their supreme verdicts, their plague engineers, or whatever. It is just like red, red, get them dead. Now, there are some things I don't like about the current build. In my opinion, the current build is far too greedy with its mana base. This is a monocolored deck that is only running 4 mountains, and I think that's a huge mistake. Like, Scoreboard, the deck in its current iterations is doing really well, so, like, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt here. But the upside of running Den of the Bugbear is that, like, you have an extra threat to limp over the finish line versus control decks. But, like, the downside of running this is every Wasteland effect, every back to basics effect and such is brutal. So I'm not entirely convinced that, like, 5 of these cards is correct. I am very much on the basic lands are good train, but I've said my piece. Something else to keep in mind is this isn't a 17 land deck. There are also these Shatter Skull Smashings here that operate as lands as well. Again, mountains are good, in my opinion. But enough of mana-based stuff. As far as the sideboard goes here, things are relatively targeted. We have some ley lines for unfair decks and Delvers. We have some red Elemental Blast for Delver with overlap with other various blue matchups. We have a Chandra Awaken Inferno as one big fat dumb finisher for the very slow matchups, and then some dead Gauns that can be removable for creatures like Elves, Death and Taxes, or also a bounce spell for Merit Lodge. Generally speaking, I do not like playing against Merit Lodge decks with this Red Prison deck. It just doesn't feel good. A lot of times you like Blood Moon, and then they play a Dark Depths and destroy your Blood Moon, and then they make a 20/20, and you're real sad about it. But I think that's enough talk. Let's go ahead and get into the games here with the second best deck in the Legacy and see if it holds up to its reputation. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and if you're a regular, please throw me a like before this video begins. That's the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. All right. We've got an easy keep of an opening hand. We've got a Chrome Mox with the Spirit Guide going under it. We've got a turn 1 Blood Moon or Chalice. I think I like Moon here. There's some downsides of doing this, but there's a lot of decks that if they never get a chance to fetch, this is a major pain in the butt. All right, that is a force pitching Jace the Mind Sculptor, so we are probably playing against a control deck of some nature. I have a very good turn 2 that allows me to play both Chalice and Hearse. You're coming in now while you're still untapped. Sequencing. I think Chalice first. This Chalice first forces a brainstorm here. Okay. Chalice has resolved. Now we play Hearse. Okay. Things are looking good. This can be a finisher if I need it to be. Now, Prismatic Ending does make it so that, like, this stuff can leave the battlefield through Chalice of the Void. So let's not just kind of assume that things are over yet. Grix is fine. I can Shatter Skull smashing that if I would like. Probably playing against a Grixis control deck list. You have Menace, it's been a little while. No, 3/2 red goblin creature. Sure. I think I'm just playing a tapped one of these this turn. Target Baleful Strix. Alright, there we go. Deal 1 damage to that. And I am going to just immediately eat some stuff out of my opponent's graveyard, keeping their graveyard under check for delve cards. It's possible I'm supposed to wait another turn on the Shatter Skull Smashing to see if I can get like 2 Baleful Strix with it, but I think I'm fine just going for it here. Alright, opponent has another land drop. Alright, see if we're going to eat a K command. Oh, a Hidetsugu consumes all. Very good. Alright, so I now know that my unlicensed Curse is a little bit less good than it might be in other matchups. Because this is an indication that my opponent isn't playing Snapcaster Mage. Alright, so now begins the portion of the game. Okay, hold on, I click on the left one. Use the right one for mana. We'll do some Bugbear nonsense here. Crash in for 2, make an extra token. Or sorry, crash in for 3, make an extra token. And I'm going to go ahead and exile some of my own stuff now under the unlicensed Hearse. And this thing is going to hit pretty hard. In theory, this is a 6 damage attacker. I don't know that I'll ever actually get to attack with this. Like, there's a lot of awkward worlds here. Also note, I have done a lot of damage to myself this game. And we'll see what my opponent has to say about that. A draw step K command would be pretty gross. Baleful Strix is annoying, but not the end of the world. Little buddy here doesn't have trample or anything. Alright, we just have all of the Den of the Bugbears in the world. I think I'm going to animate one of these and attempt to crash in. Fine trading a land for Baleful Strix, I think. And if my opponent attempts to Fatal Push it, I can animate Unlicensed Hearse. Get in there. Alright. Every point of damage is going to count here. My opponent gets another blocker soon. Alright. Opponent goes to 9. I play a new den. I am still going to eat, even though I don't think my opponent has any graveyard-based synergies, because the cost of being wrong is extremely high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I might be able to force an Urza chump block next turn. Narset is fine. I do not intend on drawing extra cards, or probably even messing around with that Planeswalker. A Brainstorm. Sure, that's fine. I think I get to animate with goblins, activate a den, crash in with everything. Yeah, opponent sees the writing on the wall there. Alright, good stuff. What do I want to do with versus this control deck? So, like, I probably want this. Blasts are okay. I think my moon effects go out here. If that game is any indication of how these are going to go, I very much want these Den of the Bugbears as like backup range. I don't hate extra damage to the face, and I don't hate a couple answers to Planeswalkers slash counterspells slash Baleful Strix. I could play some Dead Gauns as well, but I think Red Elemental Blast is probably better. I guess the next question is unlicensed Hearse good enough? Because I know my opponent's not really messing around with their graveyard. So I'm not expecting Snapcasters and Gurmag Anglers. And Hidetsugu is going to randomly get rid of some stuff. But like as we saw there, it was just going to attack for like 7. And that was like a turn 4 Hidetsugu or something like that. Let's submit like this. Notably, my Chrome Mox and Chalice of the Void gets slightly worse versus Hidetsugu Consumes All. I think that's probably going to be fine. A little mana heavy here. Land Spirit Guide, War Boss on 1, and then I have some awkward land drops from there. This one's borderline. I like that I can potentially turn this into a spell to kill Baleful Strix or Planeswalkers or whatever, and I like that I can turn 1 threat. I think I'll barely keep this on the draw. Like, there's a lot of worlds where my opponent mulligans to beat the hate cards, and then I don't just play the hate cards, I just kill my opponent. And, like, that's super cool. But I do think this hand is slightly below average. It's fine as long as I don't just, like, bottom out and draw land forever. Is there a world where I want to play Fable on turn 1 to kind of loot some stuff out of this hand? War Boss is better the faster that I play it, and if I play War Boss now, it plays around a Sudden Edict better, so I think I like that. It's worse against Fatal Push or Lightning Bolt specifically here. But the sooner I get a card like this down, the better. And the reason for that is that my opponent might be playing Plague Engineer. If my opponent's playing Plague Engineer and I have like a 2 2/2 creature token creatures, like that's very good for me. All right. It's fine to play the Den now. And I'll follow up with Fable. This is a card I've been pretty impressed with overall. It's like not that objectively good by legacy standards, but it's really annoying. Like, it's 2 bodies and a loot in the middle. Like, it's no Murktide Regent, it's no Expressive Iteration, you know, but it's good. And seeing some play in Goblins, some play in Painter, and some play here. Yeah, Sudden Edict. Played around that earlier. Well, kind of. Like, we attempted to play around that. Opponent had some things to say in terms of their counter spells, though. Alright, Rabble Master. I am discarding 2 lands here. One of them is Ancient Tomb. I don't know what the other one is. It's close between these 2. I think I am going to discard Shatterskull Smashing. I don't really want to pay life when I already have an Ancient Tomb in play. More other Ancient Tomb. Alright, so you remember how I said I didn't want to pay life, right? We all remember that? Okay, cool. Glad we remember that as I play a second Ancient Tomb. We play another card this turn. Alright. Cool. Nope, I'll crash in for my 1 point of damage. Dropping my opponent to 17. And this life is absolutely worth it to play this card out here. We'll exile some spells from my opponent's graveyard now. I've got a pretty threatening board here. In the not too threatening future? No, in the very threatening future, I am going to start copying my Goblin Rabble Master each turn, and I'm no math wizard, but I know that's a shit ton of damage. I can also use the 2/2 from this to crew this creature and get 2 damage in this turn. Not 100% sure that I want to do that, but it is a thing that I am allowed to do. You may absolutely have a Baleful Strix. Oh, yeah, that's pretty dope. There's an awkward amount of self-damage. I think I just cast this. Wow, 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 wow. Don't look, YouTube. Don't look at my life total. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So just quick check-in. This does creatures and and planeswalkers, so I can't send the rest at my opponent directly, unfortunately. We're gonna crew to this, tapping my reflection of Kiki Jiki. And we'll send them. A relatively large Goblin Rabblemaster this turn. Opponent is effectively at 2 life because of the Fiery Confluence that is in my hand, and this is a very disgusting board that not even something like Hidetsugu Consumes All solves. We have gotten the GGs from Heather. Too many threats. That's the plan. And this is kind of why this deck is doing so well right now. It just absolutely just jams card after card after card after card down the opponent's throat, just kind of hoping like something is going to 6 sooner or later. And every time opponent spends mana, cantripping or setting up, that's points of damage. And there's the official concession. We're 1-0. All right. I will be keeping this hand. This hand is very good. I'm to play versus my blue-black deck. You betcha. This is a keep. We're on the draw, so you can get a feel for what my opponent is playing here. Oh, that's what they're doing. So it looks like we're playing against some sort of a Hogak/zombie style deck. So we've got a couple of lines here. Line 1 is just play Chalice of the Void to shut off all the cantrips, Stitcher Suppliers, Gravecrawlers, and things of that nature. Line 2 is just, like, Blood Moon my opponent, hope they don't have mana, and continue play from there. I think this game is going to be a game of control rather than a game of aggro my opponent as fast as possible, because if I play out Rabblemaster, like, Stitcher Supplier dies. Not great for me. There's worlds where if I don't Blood Moon, I have an easier time hardcasting Fury. Turn's actually really tough. I think I'm going to go for the Moon. I just really like the prospects of having a no mana game from my opponent. If I take them off of mana, then I can kind of Chalice at my convenience and then set up a win from there. Nice. And I'm not, like, my opponent seems to be blue-black. Altar of Dementia, absolutely. Yep. Searcher Supplier turns Bridge from Below into a 2/2. There is a Hogak in the yard. That doesn't matter yet. 3 ley lines in the sideboard, by the way. Absolutely going to be thinking about that already. At any point, I can evoke a Fury to remove Bridge from Below. Oh! Anyway, we're going to play the backside of this, which does enter untapped without a life cost. I'll go ahead and play Unlicensed Hearse, start eating away at my opponent's graveyard. Yeah! Okay. So, notably, if I had taken a Chalice line on turn 1, my opponent would have been able to get a basic, and then, like, the impact of this is highly mitigated by, like, recasting Gravecrawlers and stuff. Alright. Ley lines. They come in. And I think all our creature removal probably comes in. I kind of have to decide what I don't want. Moons just won me that game. But I think generally speaking, moons are slow. And, like, Moon doesn't do shit to a Hogak that slips into play, right? So, if I were to board out my Moon effects, I still need more cuts. There's so few reps against this deck. Specifically, blue-black. I think the Chalice on 1 still matters, I think. Fury eats bridges. Maybe I'm overboarding on this stuff. Am I supposed to board out some number of chalices and trinispheres, despite how good they are? Maybe trinisphere is too slow on the draw. Trinisphere interacts pretty favorably against Hogak, though, specifically. Maybe I can board out some Fables. There's also some worlds where I play Chandra, Awaken, Inferno or something, but I don't think I'm digging that. Alright. This hand has a turn 1 Chalice into turn 2 Fiery Confluence if I want to do that. That's not bad, but I really think I can get similar 6s, and I would like to see Leyline of the Void opening hands. This is a keep. Question is, like, do I keep the Chrome Mox or not? Currently has no text. I think since I'm Threat Light, I am just going to throw this back. The turn 1 Rabble Master is super cool. Yeah, I don't know. The City of Traders is probably not super necessary. Let's keep the Chrome Mox in case I draw a card that I don't like. Alright. There's a starting Leyline. Dude, I'm real soft to a Thoughtseize, folks. Like, super squishy, like Pillsbury Doughboy levels of squish here. Now, if my opponent is on blue-black and not bug, they don't actually have access to, like, a Force of Vigor. Oh! Oh! So if they don't have access to Force of Vigor, I'm safe playing this out. Alright. Now, notably, the Hearse is a little awkward right now because I got, like, Leyline going on, but, lied to me. This isn't a blue-black deck at all. That's green. Green basic swamp. What a punish. Alright, I probably lose this game. There's a Vengevine and a Hedron Crab in graveyard. I think this, unfortunately, has to be a Chalice of the Void turn. I just have to make the Gravecrawler, Looting, Hedron Crab type cards worse. Got super punished by not playing around Force of Vigor there. What I get for trusting my opponent in chat. Alright, my self-damage will become more noticeable this game. This is not great right now. Might end up Chromoxing that. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to take any Ancient Tomb damage right now. Not super keen on Ancient Tomb damage in the face of these creatures. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Having creatures that must attack every turn if able is a little awkward here. An opponent goes to 17 from that attack. Alright, opponent attacks in with Stitcher's Supplier. Am I blocking? I don't think so. I don't want my opponent to find, like, a bridge or a Hogak here. Like, I've shut off a lot of things my opponent can do, and I think I'm gonna try to just ride that high. Ooh. Well, I'm attacking. Let's start there. Yeah. Good amount of damage from the Rabble Master. Opponent goes to 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll play a Fury. This noticeably does put me to 10. I'm just going to deal all 4 damage to this creature here. And not take this out of play. I think that's fine. I don't know. It's a blocker for the Fury next turn, which is slightly awkward. But otherwise... Okay, yeah. Opponent said, IDK why I attacked with the Stitcher. Yeah, I agree with that. I think if my opponent left back the Stitcher and took a Goblin Rabble Master block last turn, they're on a few more outs. Yeah, I got super punished for not playing around Force of Vigor because I thought my opponent was actually blue-black when, like, they have the Vengevines and the Hogaks, and I guess that's enough to actually support Force of Vigor. So yeah, GG's. Okay. I've got a hand that's an easy keep. Unfortunately, I think my hand is now pretty bad. All of these hate cards that I was hoping to play, don't do a lot against this deck. And my unlicensed Hearse is now way worse off because my graveyard is shut off. Blood Moon's very bad against my opponent. This was not a hand for a pseudo mirror. What I'm taking on right now is whether or not I want to pay life to cast Chalice of the Void. My opponent is not going to have that many 1-drops. There's potentially some Urza Saga tutor targets. There's potentially Dark Rituals. I don't think I want to pay the life. There's a lot of worlds where I just get killed by combos um, in a few turns. All right, excellent. Note that I did want to play this land while it was still going to be untapped, and depending on my draws next turn, I might need to play Ancient Tomb. And because like there's potential 4-mana like Chalice Unlicensed Hearse plays, I do think it was correct for me to play that card. Now I'll go ahead and pay the life for this and get this going now that my opponent has a card in graveyard. I think Jesus. Okay. The good news is Unlicensed Hearse has 2 cards this turn rather than 1. Okay. Next turn I probably stabilize my mana. Or what exact build we're playing against. I think I just stabilize my mana with Blood Moon this turn, rather than play out like Magus of the Moon or Chalice of the Void here. I want to play around Sudden Edict this turn while my opponent has 2 mana up. Alright, we're chilling. Alright, so a Blood Moon is in play, meaning this comes into play untapped. And I think since we're not in a hurry this game, I'm going to go ahead and start doing Chalice of the Void stuff. I'm going to put 1 on 1 this turn, and then probably put 1 on 2 next turn using Spirit Guide if I have to. And once I shut off 2, an Edict is off the table, and I'll probably start playing threats. Mox Diamond as well. I've not been impressed by this card by Legacy standards, by the way. I really want, like, the Rabble Master type cards right now. Not so much finding them. So let's Chrome Mox, put the Spirit Guide under, continue the Lockpiece game. Will shut off future Unlicensed Hearse, but if this is a mono black deck or very close to it, I'm not expecting that many answers to Unlicensed Hearse in the first place. Yeah, that's fine. Shut off Dalthy Voidwalker. I haven't shut off Helm yet. That's annoying. That also just destroys my chalices. Yeah, the hand I kept was not prepared for a chalice mirror. Yeah. And then I'll take 3 damage. Yeah. Life's bad. Like, I'm not technically dead or anything, but like this was absolutely a drew the wrong side of the deck for the matchup. Let's see if we just die here. I think I die to Karn minus Find Helm, mill me. No, I don't die to that. So all the Helms are in the main deck. This is still incredibly strong. Because that thing now gets to attack and lightning bolt every creature that I could ever play. This is also good to face. It's been a little while. No, creature planeswalker and opponent controls. I can take 6 next turn. I don't think I want a Trinisphere in play. Gonna play out some cards and look at a couple more cards from my opponent. Yeah, like potentially get some extra information. I think this is now just Mycosynth Lattice. Yeah, okay. That's fine. We'll concede there. Alright. Chalices are bad, Trinispheres are bad. Let's start by taking those out. It's not like Blood Moons are very good either. My opponent is going to have like Inventor's Pharaoh's Wastelands, Urza Saga, those sorts of things. So it's worth something. I assume that I will fill these slots with some number of these cards. Fiery Confluence is mostly for destroying the artifacts. It can also serve as a sweeper or a finisher. Fortunately, this doesn't hit planeswalkers anymore. From here, I can consider going down on like Chrome Mox, Unlicensed Hearse, Magus of the Moon. I probably want to hedge against Karn a little bit by getting rid of the Hearses. Like it is a powerful card, but it's not like my opponent is cantripping and filling their graveyard, and I'm pretty likely to be under Leyline or Douthie Voidwalker for a good portion of the game. At that point, I think I'll just fill the deck list with a Magus of the Moon. A quick scan to see if there's anything I want more than... Or sorry, if I want Magus more than anything else. I could cut one Chromox. Chromox is just so nice for playing a turn 1 Rattlemaster type card, though I think I'm just going to keep the 4th in there, especially when I'm on the play. Turn 1 Chromox, Shatterskull, City, Warboss. Turn 2 Blood Moon, Land Drop. This is fine. I'm going to need another threat out of this hand. But this immediately plays around the Sudden Edict type cards, which is really nice. So let's make our 1/1 and pass the turn. I guess Plague Engineer is a big thing that I'm scared of. Oh yeah, this is quite good for me. If there's a follow-up play for my opponent, it's strong, but otherwise, like, I get pretty far ahead in tempo for them. Yeah, that's fine. That probably does nothing. Yep. We'll just go City into Blood Moon. I still have extra mana later if I need it. But we'll just crash in for damage now. Yeah. Mentor onto a Goblin Friend. Whack my opponent down to 14. And now now a Sudden Edict type card just, like, really doesn't matter. Wastelanding this deck, once it already has a threat in play, is scary for you, whereas wastelanding this deck after they play a lock piece is usually good. So when these Red Prison decks, like, lead on Ancient Tomb, Chalice, Pass, and then you wasteland their Ancient Tomb, that's usually very good for you. Whereas if they lead on something like Eyelid here, if you wasteland me, like, I am attacking you for a lot of damage and you don't have a land in play. I might want one more Magus on the draw. Shadow Spear confirms the presence of Urza Saga, which is something that I was already expecting. Like, do I want to shave one Chromox on the draw because of early Karn? I'm not really sure that I do. Very borderline on that. I don't really want to get wastelanded into Oblivion. I also don't just mind raw bodies. Do I want Magus over a Blood Moon, maybe? Blood Moon's more hardy and stable. Magus is a body. I don't super want to cut a Chromox. I don't want to cut a Chromox, but again, turn 1 3-drop is pretty important. Maybe Chandra Awakened Inferno on the draw is ambitious. Let's sub in the Magus. Like, I think this card is okay in the matchup. Like, it's a sweeper, which is nice, but I think I'm going to value keeping my opponent's Urza Sagas and Wastelands in check when I'm on the draw here. Not 100% sure that that's correct, but I think that's where I'm at. This is a 2-mana opening hand. I don't think this is going to get there. Chromox, Imprint, Spirit Guide, City of Traders, potentially Moon. This hand is going to be a keep, and I'll toss back a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. It's a little awkward in that this, like, playing a Blood Moon takes me off of a mana source that I otherwise might like. Facing down early Sudden Edict here. It's maybe a time where I don't actually imprint the Spirit Guide. I imprint something else. I think I'm too soft here to both Wasteland and Urza Saga to not do a Chromox Blood Moon based line this turn. I think I'm going to imprint the Magus here rather than the Spirit Guide that I guaranteed can make 3-mana play next turn. I think that matters a lot. I don't think my opponent has Sudden Edict with that timing. Alright. Sure. I get to play one of these. This one potentially makes mana, allowing me to play the next one. So I think I am going to go that route. Alright. I have a friend. My opponent does have the Edict. No, they do not have the Edict. They also don't have opposition agent, or they would have played that out. Like, I'm not a searching deck, so they don't need to sandbag that for an opportune moment. It's just going to be like, I have both Leyline and Helm. Oh, it's an I have Karn situation. That means my treasure tokens aren't good here, which is unfortunate. Yes, I use this ability. I'm going to treat this as replaceable, and I'm going to treat this as not a land. Is 2 damage to target creature, notably. We'll give the Karn a little pokey. But I believe I have lost this one to Karn. Like, I played this game in a way that played around the things that were going to beat me in the short term. Because, like, a Wasteland on the City of Traders wins the game for my opponent, just, like, very unquestionably. And then my opponent didn't have that or any other early cards. And they just had late game Haymakers, which I wasn't equipped to beat because I didn't go aggro. Playing the Legion War Boss out early into Sudden Edict would have been extremely bad if they had it. Alright, opponent is plussing Karn on the treasure token that has no text as of right now. Alright. I will get another creature. Chromok's not a great draw here. And this creature can make copies, or no, this attack Karn. You target tokens. Create a token that's a copy of another target non-legendary creature you control. Yes, it can copy the token. Not something I've ever had come up in one of my leagues. This thing usually dies, is essentially what I'm getting at. Alright. There is a Mox Diamond, so I'm probably looking at minus Karn into Sky Sovereign this turn. Or a Deluge? Oh yeah, it's a Deluge. Life's bad. Yeah. Oh. And the Tutor for liquid metal coating? Yeah, then I don't really come back from that. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to take another draw step and then probably concede. Yeah. So, like, I play out a land gets destroyed, my opponent can do something else. And then, like, if I draw another land, I'm back to 3 mana, but then I, like, don't have a threat because I just kind of am constantly locked under this. I'm not 100% dead yet, but I'm going to value my time here and just move on. GG's. Hey folks, I hope you're enjoying the show. If you are, please consider doing something to support me. Likes and comments are an easy way to do that for free, as are subscribing to me on YouTube. And if you're in the financial position to throw some money my way to support my content, you can do so via a donation deck list, a Patreon subscription, or a YouTube membership. All right, that's the plug. Back to the show. So this hand is going to be a keep, and how I play it is going to depend a lot on what my opponent's first turn looks like. There's going to be a lot of factors to consider. This is going to be a very difficult hand. There's times where I play Chalice to protect War Boss. There's times where I just play War Boss and try to clock my opponent, like using Fury to get stuff out of the way. There's times where I Moon. It'll be a complex hand. Ooh, we are playing against Reanimator. I'm 100% soft to just, like, turn 1 Grizzled Rend here. So I think I'm going to swing for the fences here. This is going to be a little awkward. I'm going to cast a Chalice on 0 to clear the Chancellor of the Annex trigger. Not going to pay for that. I'm not going to pay for that again, as those Days-esque cards are currently bugged. We're then going to go City of Traders, Blood Moon, exiling Simian Spirit Guide to play that. And then the follow-up play here is going to be Chalice of the Void on 0, so that Lotus Petals are not black mana. So now opponent has to have a basic swamp in order to have a relevant play for the rest of the game. The downside of doing this is that I can't play my threat on turn 2. But I think I have hedged in a very, very, very strong direction. Sarah's Emissary to Graveyard, notably, which is a card I am not really going to beat. That's okay. I don't know exactly how many basic swamps my opponent is playing. I'm guessing the answer is like 1-ish. My best draw is an unlicensed. Fuck me. No. 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 I'm so happy with how I played this game, by the way. I think the Chalice on 0 to cut off Lotus Petals as outs is so much better than going for the Chalice on 1 to stop the looting flashback. I just got punished. At this point, I am comfortable conceding the game. I'm not in any sort of situation where I can double Fury, kill that Grizzlebrand, plus, like, more shit is coming. Okay, I want to play Land of the Void. I probably need to play Gone as an out to Sarah's Emissary, and I might end up playing Magus of the Moon. I'll kind of talk about why in a second. So generally speaking, the moon effects are not very good against this deck. Like, if my opponent needs to, they can fetch a basic on turn 1. They also have artifact mana. But there is very specifically one card that makes the moons good, and it's oddly my opponent's Serenity. So if you go and do these Blood Moon type effects, they can stop your opponent from playing a Serenity, which takes out your Unlicensed Hearse and Leyline of the Voids, which are your most important cards in the matchup. The Blood Moon, unfortunately, does get swept by Serenity if your opponent, like, Lotus Petals and Serenity, but that is asking them to jump through another hoop. I think my first cuts here are going to be Fury. From there, it's a little harder. I could cut the actual factual moons to just play Magus, and then that would leave me about right in terms of slots. That's probably fine. Then I can cut, like, Unlegion War Boss. The War Boss and Rattle Master things are sometimes a little awkward versus Grizzlebrand effects. Yeah. That's a keep. This is a really strong hand because I get to, again, shut off Serenity, which is one of the best outs my opponent has to Leyline of the Void. Real question here is whether or not I want to play around, like, Lotus Petal Serenity. Ooh, Chancellor. Chancellor means I'm playing a much worse opening hand. I have to play Shatter Skull Smashing tapped this turn, or otherwise throw away a card in a way that would not be profitable for me. So now my opponent can Lotus Petal Serenity in this turn cycle, which would be annoying. Getting Thought Seized? Yeah, it sure feels like I am. So opponent could take a Spirit Guide here so that I can't actually play around the Chancellor tax this turn. Oh, no, they're just taking my clock. My opponent valued the clock. But that just might be because they think they're getting Magus no matter what. If I play Magus, I can't follow up with Rabble Master next turn. But I think shutting off Serenity is super important here. I will go ahead and pay that tax. And then any mana source, including a Mox, gets me to a good place next turn. Loot away. All right, what went to exile there? Okay, so this is gone. I know don't no longer need to worry about that. All right. Backside of this, I think I get the real clock going rather than a redundant Magus of the Moon here. And we'll crash in. Opponent goes to 14. All right, another land drop. Probably not doing a lot here. Ah, yeah, sure. That's totally fine here. My Rabble Master is much more potent than your Rabble Master. Although our Rabble Masters might end up kissing. Might be cool. Do I want to attack my Rabble Master into their Rabble Master? Oh yeah, your Rabble Master is -1 power. I absolutely do. Just in case anything weird were to happen, I'm just going to play this out pre-combat. I don't expect anything weird to happen, but, you know, weird sideboard cards sometimes are things that occur. And now I still have a 2-power blocker for my opponent's creature. All right, fantastic. Now, notably, like, we did shut off access to Scrubland for potential Serenity here. So now, do I want Blood Moons? I don't think the Blood Moons are super, super, super relevant on the draw. Like, they still matter for Serenity. But they're a little worse, and I didn't want them last game anyway. It's possible on the draw I want to be more hateful than I was on the play. Maybe I board out more war bosses, play a few more Blood Moon effects, because, like, I'm not too exaggerating when I say I have 6 relevant cards in the matchup, and I would really like to protect those cards. Like, it comes with the incidental upside of also protecting these. Leaves me a little threat light. I think I'm okay with this. Again, I think this game is decided in the first 3 turns. This hand is about as good as one of my hands could be on the draw. Like, minus a leyline start. This has some combination of early Hearse and Chalice followed by a real threat. Pop that out so I don't forget that, and see if I get turn 1. Ooh, I do not get turn 1. Hello, leyline. So this reads to me as Entomb. I think we're going to do a similar play to last time, where we play a Chalice on 0. Pop the Chancellor trigger here. Will not pay. I will not pay a second time. And we'll drop the Hearse into play. Okay, I had to step away from the computer for a second. Alright, so now we don't see an end of turn Entomb for obvious reasons. Okay, opponent does not immediately have Serenity, which is cool. But what's the next play? It's always untapped Shatter Skull Smashing for 3 life. I think I need to get my clock going. This is a little worse against an Abrade effect specifically. But I don't want to give my opponent a lot of time to find the out to this if they don't already have it. It's better to go this tapped into Chalice of the Void if I expect my opponent already has a Braid in hand or Wear in hand. Take out a card on my way out here, and then they can potentially go off using like Faithless Looting or Entomb plus other card this turn. Yeah, I am punished for taking the aggressive line. Sorry. Alright, so now I have a Rabblemaster in the face of a Grizzlebrand, so I need to draw a bounce spell. Doesn't matter too much what's in my hand. As, like, I need to top deck the relevant thing. Alright, yep, that's fine. Maybe I should have played the Chalice. Like, I kind of had the read that my opponent had the Entomb in hand, so, like, the way I lose is to a Wear Terror or a Braid type card on this. Oh, another Thoughtseize, wow. Taking the Fable, so I can't loot. That's another Chalice. So my opponent gains 6 here, then gains another 6 on their turn. I don't really think I win from here. Yeah, I don't think I win from here. I also don't think it's correct to feed for another turn. In case my opponent cannot make a second creature. They make a second creature. I'm probably not winning. Like, I'll concede to the second creature. Yeah, there's the expected attack. That's fine. Alright, there's the draw 7. And if this comes into play, I think I'm dead. Oh, did they whiff? Oh, maybe I needed to play this last turn, actually, so that it doesn't get thought seized. I wonder if I messed that up. I don't know that it's relevant. That might have been a mistake. Am I about to get Sarah whatevered? Oh, Archon of Cruelty. Yeah, that's pretty gross. This isn't technically a creature, so I don't get to bring that back. I sacrifice a goblin. I sacrifice a ley line. I don't really know that I'm on outs. Definitely not on outs now. I do just kind of want to look and see what my next card would have been. Land not getting me there. Okay. Yeah, I think I lost this one for trying to pressure my opponent rather than trying to lock them out further. That's on me. Okay. I have one of the weird red prison hands where the hand does not have a turn 1 play, but has a good mix of lands and spells, and these are tricky to evaluate because if the unlicensed hearse isn't good in the matchup, this hand is not actually doing anything fast enough to be good. This is one of those hands where I think it's an acceptable keep. I also think it's an acceptable mulligan to just like take advantage of the fact that I am on the play here. And I am going to lean towards trying to do something broken. Yeah. I think I am going to keep this hand. However, I don't think this is a turn 1 Blood Moon, since it does very negative things to my own mana base here. I think this is a keep, pitch a Blood Moon, and we are going to attempt to win this game pretty much singularly with Legion Warboss, and then Fury, whatever blockers my opponent plays, out of the way. Like, that is my plan to win this game. A little weird, because, like, turn 1 Blood Moon is the most powerful thing that this hand can do, but if I do the most powerful thing my hand can do, like, most of my cards for the rest of the game are dead draws. Well, we tried. I'm about to just, like, eat a sword. Oh, no. Sorry, I'm about to eat a lightning bolt instead. Unholy Heat. Okay. So the good news is this is a bad matchup. The bad news is my hand's very bad unless I draw a red source. Let's fucking go. All right. So let's Shatter Skull, pay the life. I don't want to eat an Unholy Heat here. Let's attempt Moon. Daze, Force of Will, Force of Negation are all outs. Nope! Let's go! Goblin friend! I believe in you, Goblin friend. Alright. That's the downside. Fuck me! Come on! Fucking come on! But this Fury is sick. So I will cease my complaining. Now I'm super bad off against Force of Will. Not Force of Negation, not Daze, Force of Will specifically. Alright. That's a Fable. Pre-combat Fury? I think pre-combat Fury. Not that my opponent's gonna block anyway, but this is an instant already, right? Yeah, that's an instant already, so if my opponent Force of Wills, I still have the same attacks. Unless opponent surveils. Yeah, if opponent surveils and then... Yeah, sure, I'll take my attack now then. Alright. Get in there. Take my 1. Fury. Itching Magus of the Moon. Alright. Sick. We'll do 3 to the Dragon Rage Channeler in case nonsense happens. 1 to the Delver. This is still very much going off of the general plan of win with the Legion Warboss. However, the Legion Warboss is not in play. Goblin Token, though. We believe in Goblin Token here. We stand Goblin Token. Okay. Opponent got a Volcanic Island off Expressive Iteration, and unfortunately had another Dragon Rage Channeler. I'm going to need some help here. This is fine. I need to go ahead and play this out now. Yep, that's fine. Like, given my mana situation, I'm not really in, or will be in, a situation to play around Daze this game. And every time opponent casts a Daze for returning an island, it makes it less likely that they can do double spell situations. There. That's good. It's not good yet, but it will be. Alright. Little Goblin Token that could. I'm very much hoping to not have to pitch cast this Fury. But I'm getting bodied by Dragon Rage Channeler. I don't know that I'm going to have any choice about it. Chromox does not help cast that. Alright. I go to 4 this turn. I probably don't have too many Lightning Bolts to worry about from my opponent if they are playing Unholy Heats. We're probably ballpark talking 2 Lightning Bolts. This is the same as one of the lists that did really well in the Showcase Challenge. But it's possible, like, Unholy Heat is a 5th Lightning Bolt rather than that my opponent is playing a lot of copies of. Kind of hedge for the other blue decks. I didn't want to draw a red card in my mono red deck. All right, so we're now officially dead to Lightning Bolt. Good news is I think 38 out of my 48 draws are live for casting Fury in one way or another. Well, I'll attack for one, and then the whole question here is, do I play around Daze? I can play around Daze by pitch casting Fury, but at one life, I don't know if I win this game if I don't put another creature in play. So, like, I'm going to accept that I lose 2 days here and just hardcast the Fury. Like, I don't think I am favored in the long game here versus a deck that looks at as many cards as Delver does. Yep. Like, my opponent has a blue land in play already, and even if they only cast one cantrip a turn, I'm not great versus future Dragon Rage Channelers. I'm not great versus Lightning Bolts. All right, there is the Force of Will, which means that I am dead in the air. GG. All right, let's figure out how to board versus Delver. Probably want ley lines, even though they're not hard castable in the mid game. I probably want all of these. I probably want blasts. I can consider some of that other stuff, but I don't know that it's great. Chalice isn't great. I'm bringing in 1-drop removal spells. I'll consider boarding that out. I'll also consider boarding out my moon effects. The upside of the moon effects is that they protect me from Wasteland and make it harder for my opponent to string together multiple cantrips. The downside of the moon effects is that, like, as we saw in that game, my opponent can largely ignore them. And they just look at so many cards in a given game that if they get the basic island, like, these are largely irrelevant. A lot of times when I have more Pyroblasts than this, I end up boarding out Chalice. From here, I don't super love Trinisphere on the draw in this matchup. Like, it's so often that they just play out a Dragon Rage Channeler or a Delver or something early. And then, like, you spend a turn to play a Trinisphere, they answer the Trinisphere, and you've already taken 6 damage. From there, I might just, like, trim a Chalice or something. Oh, this is fine. The second Den of the Bugbear is probably going to be pretty awkward, but opening on a ley line very much mitigates the amount of damage that I'm going to take in a game. But I think this is a game that I might lose to having Den of the Bugbear rather than Mountain. And that'll probably make sense in a couple of turns. Basically, if I play City of Traitors, and then my in-play red source gets wastelanded, it's just super, super awkward for me. How do I want to deal with Daze here? I can just go to my turn, play a second Den of the Bugbear, and then red elemental blast this creature. It's a very large tempo hit to play around Daze, but helps alleviate some of the awkwardness of Den of the Bugbear, and then I can play around Daze for a while. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take the tempo hit here to do that. Not 100% sure if that's correct without more reps, but it helps eliminate some of the awkwardness of my own mana here, and I am just going to immediately go for this. Given the clock that I have, I'm less scared about EI right now, and given Leyline, Murktide is not an immediate problem. Yes, your 1/1 Scry Machine resolves. Do your worst. You can get a little bit of information here based on my opponent sends stuff to exile, and the answer is no this turn. Sure. And now my next question is going to be, like, how aggressively do I want to play this hand? I want to get dazed. I want to get dazed to just have more permanent mana. Not really as of right now. And it's so awkward if... Oh, I guess if one of these gets wastelanded, I still have 3 mana back in dazed territory. Let's not play this as turbo as possible. Let's start working towards the backside of Fable of the Mirror Breaker here. Because that thing copying a Rabblemaster or War Boss and giving me value sounds really good. Really, really good. And this is something that doesn't like... none of these cards would be a true 1-for-1 versus Lightning Bolt, because I'd still have a Goblin token around. But they don't necessarily sound great. 2 cards enter the exile zone. Okay. Was a Flooded Strand in exile? Or no, that was play Scalding Tarn. Alright, Leyline is sometimes awkward with Expressive Iteration in terms of interface. Yes, I will use this ability. This is just a couple of 1/1s. I don't think I'm on board with that right now. I think a lot of my other draws are just better. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 mana this turn if I want to go all in that capacity. I think I'm going to start here. I want to be able to play one of these this turn, play one of these next turn. A lot of worlds. Note this does force my shaman to attack, but like I want to attack with that anyway. All right. Opponent taking all the damage here, and then like the next question is like, do I want to jam a card into Daze? I think I like jamming this into Daze. Gives me more mana next turn if it resolves. And then unless I get wastelanded off of City, kind of like where I'm at. Monk Spirit Guide, attempt this again. All right, we get a Force of Will for our troubles, which I'm relatively happy with. Theme Vents going to exile off the Surveil. All right, Force of Will. All right, Unholy Heat is quite strong. All right, Brainstorm away. Dismiss that. I think I feel favored unless opponent has more removal spells here. Yeah. Hopefully War Boss is going to resolve. Opponent has 1 card and no open mana, so I can't get like randomly Hydroblasted or something. All right. I take 4. Oh, that's a great draw. That's a really, really, really fucking good draw. Or no, I do want to do this pre-combat. A token. Evolves. Yield to that. Send on in. And now I have play Legion War Boss, copy Legion War Boss, attack for more damage than I can math. Again, basically only or Unholy Heats and Lightning Bolts matter. Like, taking out this card is kind of a big deal. Now, opponent gets to look at quite a few cards here. Okay, there is a Dragon Rage Channeler. Remains a 1/1. Okay, yeah, I will absolutely take that 3. Opponent has 2 cards. I think we just do this. This is just so strong. All right. Let's create a token that is a copy of Legion War Boss. Trigger this 3 times. And that's good enough to get the concession. Okay. What do I want to do, if anything, differently on the draw? I think the Chalice is a little more attractive on the draw. On the play, I can try to overwhelm my opponent. On the draw, like, it's less likely that I can just go threat, and just power through. And Unholy Heat's feeling really good. What do I cut if I'm doing that? It's a 3-drop of some nature is the answer. I just don't know which one. Fable seems too good. Rabblemaster's too good. This is one of those awkward situations where if I do, like, if I bring this to protect these and then I board one of these out, that's a little weird. All right. Okay. This is a keep. I am going to put in both ley lines because of Brazen Borrower type cards, bouncing one of them out of play. The downside of doing that is I can't ever get a colorless source out of Grummox. There we go. All right. Oh, I don't mind drawing City. Given how this hand looks, I think I just want to use my mana on curve here. This isn't great versus Daze, but I don't like my hand plan essentially is keep my opponent's threats from being good and try to win with this card. And I think if I just like let that Delver flip and start getting hits and give my opponent more time to try to find protection for it, with EI or Ponder or whatever, that doesn't go well for me. Oh, nice. I think they're just passing the turn here. Okay. If I were the opponent, would I have Dazed Red Elemental Blast on Delver? There's scarier things. Because of Unholy Heat, I absolutely want to play Chalice before Rabblemaster. I think I'm willing to take 2 here to play around Daze in a way that I didn't last turn. We borrowing? Nope. Okay. We just steal a W? I'm totally good if we just stole a win with Leyline Chalice. Meltdown? That's weird mana for EI. Yeah, Meltdown, sure. That's fine. Okay. I haven't given my opponent a removal target yet. I'm going to play my worst card first here, and I think I'm just going to keep making land drops as well since I have a Den of the Bugbear in play. Let's play out War Boss first and let War Boss eat it to a bolt. And then starting next turn, I can play my shit off of... Oh, great. Oh, my opponent's just bad. Okay, like, that was harsh. My opponent clicked through the appropriate time to kill my creature. So, like, I get a free persistent 1/1, which 100% matters here. Yeah, so that's one of those things you have to be very careful about, and, like, a great example of, like, how much priority passes actually matter in real play. I'm gonna go ahead and play my Rabble Boy this turn, and hope my opponent does not have good answers to it. We're not in hardcast Force of Will territory yet. Hydroblast. Sure. Crash in for a lofty 1 point of damage, and I think it's... anyway, I think it's good to go ahead and a 2 life to cast this, and I 100% don't care about this being dazed. Like, I'll take that card. My mana in the future is going towards activating this, unless I draw relevant cards. 4 to activate, so it does cost me 2 life. Center's tapped. Again, primary difference between, like, it and Mountain in the late game. I also have my City of Traders. I probably want to keep around, honestly. No more bolts. No more bolts. So opponent probably has, like, Murktide or counter spells in hand right now. I don't want to play this right now. I want to keep my city. It can get slightly awkward in some fringe situations, but I think I'm okay. All right. That is a Ponder no shuffle into Brainstorm. Guess that means there were 2 good cards there with the Ponder that my opponent wanted. Not sure exactly what they're looking for. I mean, the answer is removal, but I don't really know that they're going to have a sweeper that is going to do what they need it to do, given how much pressure I have on board. They could be looking for Wasteland. Wasteland would make my life really awkward. Like, unless I already played a land this turn. Like, Wasteland plus an Unholy Heat type card would be pretty good. Okay. Yep, absolutely bobble me. That does not impact the board. All right. Draw your card. Oh, man, I wish this was a mountain. I can just attack my opponent for 4 and play Chalice, and that's a very good turn. Or I can attempt to kill my opponent. I think I don't know. It feels like they have counterspells in hand, and it also feels like they were digging for removal. I wish this was mountain. This like, if I don't activate this turn, it gives them another chance to just go and find a wasteland to answer it. This turn is so fucking hard. I think my opponent has a counterspell as well. All right, I'm going this way. My opponent has an Unholy Heat type card. They kill my land. I still get in for 4. They're still in a decent amount of trouble. All right, there's an attack for 4. All right, I will play a new Den of the Bugbear, and then drawing any untapped land means that I can attack with this next turn. I think I'm fine with that. Like, losing the city kind of sucks. But okay, yeah. So I was agonizing over that turn But to be clear, like, I was very much favored, and I was just trying to, like, think of, like, which one of these is the better play in the, 5% of the time that I lose from that position. All right. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Pretty good. Some of the things here go against some of my own personal preferences. But this is a very strong list, and I would highly, highly recommend it for competitive Magic. And that's not necessarily something I give my seal of approval to very often. This was probably the best Den of the Bugbear League that I've ever played. Generally speaking, I have tripped all over this card in the leagues that I have played with it. And like it's legitimately awkward sometimes. But in a build with like no Karns, no Chandras, nothing that uh, air quotes, nothing that costs above 3 mana most of the time. It is a little bit less awkward. I don't think the Dens and the Sokenzan are quite as free as people say, especially like when so many of your red sources become wastelandable. But in those games where you don't get wastelanded, which we didn't against Delver here, they feel good. I will fully admit that. As far as the sideboard goes, I liked the things that I had access to, and I liked them in roughly the numbers that they are at. Depending on what you're expecting in any given week, you might run the fourth leyline, or one dead gone or something like that, depending on what you're expecting. But I felt like my in-out numbers were pretty smooth. Sometimes I had questions based on like not being familiar with the exact sideboarding of this build, that if I like played, 5 leagues with this, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm comfortable with how I'm sideboarding and my approach in every matchup. This deck's really good. I like how Fury has improved your all-in Goblin, Rabblemaster, Legion, Warboss type slots. I really like Unlicensed Hearse as a creature that is larger than most of your 2/2 base creatures that are otherwise in the deck, and I very much like it as a way to fight against Delver as well. So huge thumbs up to me. And Donor, I know you're thinking about Death and Taxes and decks like this one, and I hope this gives you some information about whether or not you want to play this deck. Regardless, I do recommend that you proxy up both and try both out before you actually fire off, a $1,500 plus purchase. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on your way out. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And if you end up wanting to try out this deck or get one of your own decks on the channel, that information is available in the video description. See ya!